It's Halloween season, and what better way to celebrate than to talk about horror movies. So one thing you should know about me is that I'm a huge fan for horror movies, more specifically the slasher movies, even the ones that have like a bunch of sequels. Now I know a lot of them can get a little bit cliche and corny sometimes, but hey, I'm a sucker for them. I always have been, and I know a lot of you are too. So for this month, I will be talking about my personal favorite slasher films, and I'm going to be ranking the sequels from worst to best. Now keep in mind, these are just my opinion, and if you have a different ranking for the sequels, then that's totally fine. I would love to hear it in the comment section below. So let's kick it off with the Halloween series. Just a quick disclaimer though, I will not be talking about Halloween 3 Season of the Witch, and that's because that movie, it's its own separate entity. It's not part of the Michael Myers story. So I know they tried making Halloween like this whole anthology type of deal, with Halloween 3 being the first that's not from Michael Myers, but that didn't work out and they eventually moved back to the Michael Myers story. So I will be talking about Halloween 3 in a different video, but for now let's focus on the other Halloweens. Number 9, my least favorite Halloween is Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. So my problem with this movie is that the characters became so twisted. I mean, we grew to love, characters like Annie and Laurie Strode, both in the original and in the remake. But in this movie, they're just so completely, I don't know. I mean, that's as much as I can describe them as twisted. And I get that this movie takes place about a year or two after the events on Halloween. So it pretty much impacted their lives. I get that. But I don't know, I just feel they twisted them way too much to the point that they're not themselves anymore. One thing I really disliked about this movie was how they changed Dr. Loomis. Because we know Dr. Loomis as this crazy psychiatric guy just running around Haddonfield, warning everybody to stay away from Michael Myers because he's coming. But no, in this movie, he's this greedy, money-hungry dickhead that all he cares about is selling his book. He doesn't even want to believe that Michael Myers is still running around. So they really ruined Dr. Loomis in this movie. This movie seems more like a psychological type of film rather than a slasher film, because you get to see Michael hallucinating and watching his dead mother with a horse telling him to go kill. Does that sound familiar? That in another movie about a killer hearing his mom tell him to kill sound familiar? Guy with a hockey mask. One thing I did like about this movie is Tyler Mane's portrayal as Michael Myers. Same with the 2007 movie. I mean, even though this is my least favorite movie, I do like Michael Myers, both his design and the character, like the actor. Mainly because he's really huge and, he's intimidating. He's a really big guy. I mean, if you would see a guy that huge just chasing you, wouldn't you be afraid of him? So, I mean, yeah, I do like the portrayal of Michael Myers. I like how his mask is a lot more torn up and he actually has like a hoodie in this movie, and he's walking around like this just Frankenstein type of thing. I like it. It's pretty cool. I would want to see this version of Michael Myers fighting off against Jason. That would be pretty interesting. But this movie still, I don't know. I don't see it. It doesn't feel like Halloween to me. It feels so off from what made the other movies great, in my opinion. Number 8, Halloween Resurrection. Now, wait. Hold your horses before you even say, what? You're putting Halloween Resurrection over Halloween 2007? How can you do that? Well, this movie, it shouldn't have happened to begin with. What made Halloween H2O really good was how they created this story about, tying loose ends and having a perfect ending. And this movie kills it. This movie just basically explains that Laurie Strode ended up chopping off the wrong guy's head because Michael ended up switching bodies with a paramedic. It's just some stupid way to just explain why he's still walking around. This movie was just created because the executives want money. Okay, that's all this sequel was. Look, and this movie shouldn't have happened to begin with, but they could have at least had Jamie Lee for this movie a little bit longer, but no, she gets killed off not even in the beginning, like right in the beginning of the first act of the movie. Now I get that this movie tried something different because it was made right in the early 2000s when the whole online horror genre started, and I didn't have a problem with that, with the whole having cameras around the Myers house thing. That was okay. That was actually an interesting concept, but it could have been handled a little bit better. So Busta Rhymes. Oh, Oh god. So, I have absolutely nothing against Busta Rhymes, the person, but his character in this movie is just so freaking cringy. Like, the things he says, like, trick or treat, motherfucker, or all of that is just, oh my god. Like, you want Michael to kill him. I mean, I don't know, the other characters they're alright, I guess. But still, this movie shouldn't have happened. A lot of fans, including myself, don't like this movie and we don't consider it canon. We still feel H2O is the true and perfect ending to the Halloween story. Number 7, Halloween 2007, aka Rob Zombie's Halloween. Now look, I'm not a fan of remakes. I never have been. And as far as Halloween goes, I like seeing Michael Myers as this supernatural shape that he's just chasing you down, he's stalking you to the point where he starts killing you, and as much as you try killing him, he just keeps coming back and back and back. That's how I see Michael Myers. But in this movie, they take it into a more realistic aspect of him by explaining his reasons what led to him becoming the killer that we know today. I mean, he having a really broken down family, getting bullied in school. So as far as the realism goes, it's okay. But I would still prefer the whole supernatural thing. I mean, me personally, I think that's more terrifying. Now again, Tyler Mane as Michael Myers, he was phenomenal as Michael Myers. I mean, just like in Halloween 2, like his movements and because he's like really, really huge, like it plays really good. Because honestly, I've always had a problem with Michael Myers being really scrawny and skinny. I would have preferred, like, if this guy can survive so much, you might as well make him like a little bit bigger, you know? As far as the other cast goes, personally, for the remake, the cast was spot on. I really did like the cast. Scout Taylor as Laurie Strode, I really did like her version of Laurie because they modernized it, if that makes sense. I mean, while I do love Jamie Lee Curtis's portrayal as Laurie Strode, Scout, she brought in a little bit more attitude towards Laurie, because nowadays you're not gonna see a kid that's too serious and too uptight about things, you know? So I really did enjoy the way Scout made this version of Laurie. While she's still a little bit of a bookworm, but they give her she feels more like an actual kid. The way she talks, the way she acts, you know, she seems more like a modern kid, like a teenager. As far as the other cast members, like Malcolm McDowell as Dr. Loomis, that was really good. It feels a little bit different from Donald Pleasance's version of Loomis, but it's still nonetheless really good. Because you get to see him as both a psychiatrist during the time that he's helping Michael Myers and when he's comforting him, towards the end where he's actually chasing after Michael, and well, you know how he ends up getting a little bit too obsessed with Michael. The rest of the cast, like Sherry Moon Zombie as Michael's mom and Daig as young Michael Myers, they were honestly, like, as far as the first half of the movie, they were really good. I was amazing seeing the pair working together. That was just spot on amazing. Danielle Harris, who's known as playing Jamie Lloyd in the other Halloweens, she comes back as Annie Brackett in this movie, and it's nice to see her coming back. I mean, obviously she's not playing Jamie anymore, but you know, just seeing her back in a Halloween film was like, hey, I remember you. Though she's older now and she's doing things she shouldn't. It's like, Jamie, what are you doing? Don't do that. But my main issue with this movie is that, you know, going back to the realistic aspect, is that they make Michael Myers, they make him have a face, if that makes sense. I mean, you get to see his backstory to the point where you actually start feeling bad for him. And whenever that happens with a character like Michael Myers, is that it takes away the fear, because you start to feel bad for them. Like, you don't justify their actions, but you can kind of see, like, hey, well, I mean, I can see why he is the way he is to an extent, and you feel sorry for the guy. I mean, when I saw it, I felt bad for Michael Myers. Like, poor kid, he's being treated like crap by his family and the bullies and everything. You know, no wonder he snapped. I mean, maybe he was a little crazy as it is, and this is what just made him, you know, go crazy. So feeling sympathy for Michael just takes away the fear of the character. And I feel that's where this movie failed. Because I don't want to feel bad for Michael Myers at all. I want to be terrified of this guy chasing me down, you know? So yeah, this remake, I mean, I'm not a fan of remakes, but this one, realistically, it's okay. Just, you know, it's alright. Number 6, Halloween 5, The Revenge of Michael Myers. So, after the success of Halloween 4, this movie, they quickly rushed it within less than, I think it was about a year or less that came out, and you can clearly tell when watching it that this movie was very, very rushed. Minus Jamie, Loomis, and Michael, everybody else just seems pretty boring, honestly. The one character that could have been like, you know, enjoyable to see was Rachel from Halloween 4, but she gets killed really early on in the movie, and it doesn't make sense how she got killed off so easily considering she survived all the crap that happened in the previous one. So yeah, I mean, you can, as far as like characters go, it is a little bit flawed. It did contradict the Halloween 4 ending, because if you remember the ending of H4, I mean, it basically shows that maybe there's going to be a brand new killer in Jamie, or it's going to be like this whole passing the torch type of thing. And that's what people expected. Maybe it's not what they wanted, but that's what it seemed like. But in this movie, it starts off with her just being a mute, which makes no sense. It doesn't explain how she got over that brief killing or something, you know? They don't explain that. One thing I do like about this movie is Michael Myers' mask. So technically in the story, he's wearing the exact same mask as in the 4th movie, but I mean, obviously it's not. In the 4th movie, the mask seems a lot more, I don't know, like innocent. Like it doesn't have any emotions into it, but it looks more, I don't know how to describe it. It's like less cynical. Whereas in this movie, like the mask looks angry. The mask looks like the character. He's angry, and it goes with the title, The Revenge of Michael Myers. I like the fact that they started to slowly introduce the whole thing with the mystery of the thorn and the man in black. Like he's just, you could clearly see a couple of scenes that he's just walking around, but you don't know who this guy is. You don't know, well, is he Michael's brother? Is he somebody that's controlling him? Who's this guy? You really don't know who he is, and it makes you question and wonder like what's gonna happen. One big inconsistency that I totally forgot to mention about Halloween 5 is the house. So if you look back into the original Halloween, the house is a normal 2-story house. But in Halloween 5, it's a castle. So what the hell? What happened? I mean, it makes absolutely no sense how it went from a normal 2-story building into this giant castle. So I don't know, that was weird. And then what's stranger is that in Halloween 6, it goes back to being a regular house. Same goes for Resurrection. So yeah, I don't know about that. Makes no sense. Number 5, The Curse of Michael Myers, aka Halloween 6, aka Halloween, the producer's cut / or the theatrical cut. And the reason why I mention all that is because this movie is the most controversial out of the other movies. It's known for having a lot of reshoots, a lot of rewrites. Daniel Harris did not come back as Jamie Lloyd for this movie, and that caused a lot of people to be upset, including myself, because she's technically Jamie. I mean, you look at the actor and say, hey, Jamie, you know? So this movie is very controversial due to the fact that, you know, even though both movies they explain the origin of the cult of Thorn, and they go in depth on why Michael Myers is a killer, which is a pretty good, interesting part of the movie. One thing that ruined it for me as far as the producer's cut is that they made Michael seem like a puppet. So in one scene of the producer's cut, it shows, I think it's Tommy Doyle, he gets a couple of stones or something and he puts them on the ground, and right as Michael is about to kill him, he just stops. So he ends the curse. He just doesn't kill anymore. He just stays like a frozen shape, doing nothing. So I didn't like that. I didn't like the fact that this cult had full control of Michael Myers. Whereas in the theatrical cut, I mean, obviously you can tell that the cult did have some influence in Michael Myers, but nonetheless you see that nobody can control the shape. Not even this cult. He is his own being, and he is purely and simply evil. And who would have thought that the place Michael was sent to because of his killing were actually the people that were controlling him this whole time. So it's, you know, I thought that was pretty interesting going back to Smith's Grove for this movie. I do like the fact that they reintroduced Tommy Doyle back into this movie. We haven't seen him since Halloween, and he was just a little kid in that movie. So it was nice to see that they're bringing back an older character as part of the main cast, and now he's working alongside Donald Pleasence as Dr. Loomis. And that's another thing, is Dr. Loomis, he came back for this movie for the last and final time of his career, and his role as Dr. Loomis was phenomenal, just like in the other ones. Donald Pleasence as Loomis from Halloween 1, 2, 4, 5, and 6, it was always spot on, perfect. And you gotta give the man credit. He was one of the best things to happen to those movies. Not apart from Michael Myers, he was the hero of the movie. So after this movie ended, after they finished reshooting and all that stuff, he passed away. So he never got to see the full movie himself. So this movie is specifically dedicated to Donald Pleasence in his memory. But yeah, Halloween 6, it's very controversial, but I like it. I like the whole origin of the cult of Thorn. I mean, I've always been into mythological reasons behind stuff. And even though it may seem a little bit over the top for a movie for Halloween, I don't know, I dig it. Number 4, Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers. So this movie, it's basically Michael Myers' comeback after his absence in Halloween 3. And the way they explain it is that it's been 10 years after the original Halloween and the second, and Michael Myers has been in a coma. So Michael Myers, he wakes up, he finds out Laurie Strode has been killed in a car accident, so he has no other choice than to go after his niece. So this film introduces Jamie Lloyd, played by Danielle Harris, and she is Laurie Strode's daughter. So honestly, even though she's a little kid, she plays a fantastic role. She's honestly one of my personal favorite characters of the franchise. Her acting is just so spot on, the way she screams and everything. It plays home. You can tell that she is Laurie Strode's daughter, because even the way she screams and everything, it's like kind of like mother like daughter type of thing. But yeah, Danielle Harris is Jamie Lloyd. So Donald Pleasence comes back as Dr. Loomis, and they basically explain that he survived that huge explosion, just like Michael Myers. So technically they were both supposed to die at the end of Halloween 2, but since they decided to bring him back, why not bring back Donald Pleasence, right? They made some makeup, they added some makeup to Donald Pleasence to make it seem that he still has the scars after the explosion in Halloween 2. But nonetheless, his acting is perfect. He seems a bit more deranged in this film compared to Halloween's 1 and 2. But then again, it could be because he's a little bit older, and not to mention the fact that he saw his former patient survive an explosion in a hospital. So I would go crazy too if I saw that. Rachel, which is Jamie's sister, she plays a really good role as a supporting character. She's basically the teenager of this movie, similar to Laurie Strode, except she's not really the central part of the movie. She's more of the role model, because she's protecting Jamie throughout the film. And I really do like Rachel's character. That's why it doesn't make sense to me that they killed her off so easily in Halloween 5. She went through a lot more in this movie than she did in Halloween 5, so it makes no sense to me at all. I like the fact that, unlike in the original Halloween where nobody believed Dr. Loomis, in this movie, everybody's ready, the sheriffs are ready, even normal people, they're ready with their guns to just go and get Michael Myers. So that was pretty cool, I like that. One of my few complaints of this movie is just Michael Myers' design, because he seems too bulky in this movie. Not in the sense of bulky, kind of like Tyler Mane's version of Michael Myers, but more of a chubby type Michael Myers. And I don't know, I don't see that. That just looks kind of silly in my opinion. So yeah, the mask, I don't know, going back to the mask, I don't know, I just don't like it. It feels a little bit less cynical. It looks more innocent in my opinion. So I didn't like Michael's design in this movie. So yeah, this movie is basically just Michael's comeback after his absence in Halloween 3. And he came back even stronger and more savage than before. His killings are way more over the top compared to the first 2 films. I mean, come on, he grabs one of the truckers and he just rips his face off. I mean, who does that? That's crazy, right? Did he really get that strong in a 10-year coma? I mean, it makes no sense, but wow. But yeah, I really do like Halloween 4. I really do enjoy watching it. It's one of those movies that I really don't get tired of. The few flaws that I may have, like Michael's mask or his design, I'll give it a pass. I still enjoy watching this movie to this day, and that is why it's still my 4th favorite. Number 3, Halloween H2O. So this movie, it's considered to be the true Halloween 3, mainly because this movie ignores Halloween 4, 5, and 6. So those 3 movies are completely retconned. They never happened. Michael Myers has disappeared since that night on Halloween on 1978. He's been gone. So in this movie, picking up 20 years after, he finally wakes up and well, he doesn't necessarily wake up, we don't know what happened to him, but he comes back and he finds out that his sister, Laurie Strode, is still alive under a different name known as Carrie Tate. Even though Halloween 4 isn't canon in this movie, they kept the whole thing that she was in a car accident and she died, but she actually just faked her death to just stay away from her brother and just switch her name. But me personally, I do wish that they kept all of the movies under the same continuity, because it would be an interesting concept to see, you know, the ending of Halloween 6 where he finally killed off Jamie and he disappears and we don't know what happened to him, that it leads on to him realizing that Laurie Strode is still alive. But I mean, at the same time, I could see why they wanted to retcon it. They want to make it seem like not too over exaggerated. Like I said, a lot of people don't like the whole over the top type of thing, so they want to make it like a direct sequel to Halloween and just make it seem like Michael is just an evil guy. We don't know what are his motives and why he does the way he does. I mean, if this was a trilogy, just Halloween 1, 2, and 20 years later, that would have been a perfect trilogy to just end it there. So in this movie, again, it picks up 20 years after the events of Halloween 1 and 2. It just shows how that one night impacted Laurie Strode's life for the next 20 years. I mean, she's much more overprotective about stuff. She doesn't let her son go out. She's constantly getting startled. The one thing I really love about this movie is towards the climax, where they're running away from Michael Myers. Instead of just running away, just like in the other movies, she just says, you know what, F it, I am not going to put up with this anymore. She tells her son to leave, she closes the gate in her home, and she's like, you know what, I'm going to end this tonight. I'm done with Michael, I'm done with this crap, let's do this. I mean, you really get to see Laurie Strode kick some ass in this movie. Like, you can tell she's pissed and she's done with her brother. She doesn't want to deal with his shit anymore. She's done with this nightmare, she just wants to end it. She really puts a toll on him. And again, this movie has the perfect ending to it. It really does. Just, it seals the deal. She finally gets that closure that she's been wanting for the past 20 years. And it would have been perfect. That would have been just a good way to just end the story. But they had to mess it up with Resurrection. Number 2, Halloween 2. I mean, hey, who could have guessed? So this movie is literally a direct sequel to the original Halloween. I mean, unlike the other sequels where they take place a year or more after the previous one, this one takes place on the same night. So Laurie Strode has been taken to a hospital. She's still not sure about Michael Myers. She knows that he's still out there. She doesn't feel safe. And it's just a continuation, basically, of her running away from him, Michael coming back, killing anybody that gets in his way. But in this movie, you get to see why Michael Myers is chasing Laurie Strode. You find out that he is her older brother. So this movie came out in 1981. So they basically pulled a Darth Vader on us, you know? Instead of just like how Darth Vader revealed to Luke that he's his father. Just like in this movie, Laurie, I am your brother. Unlike the original Halloween though, the killings that there was really little to no blood. This one was a lot more gorier than compared to the original. Well, you can tell, like, oh wow, they really, I mean, took the next level as far as the killings go from Halloween. But in this movie, you also get to see Michael Myers isn't just a walking shape. You can see that he has some sort of supernatural aspect in him because he gets shot, he gets tortured a lot more in this movie than in the first one. And yet he still keeps coming back. Now, number 1, John Carpenter's Halloween. So this movie, I mean, come on. The original has to be number 1 for almost every Halloween fan. I mean, this movie, it started the slasher film boom of the 1980s. It established a format that future films would try to imitate. Movies like Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, Scream. All these other movies would try to follow the same formula as Halloween did, and they tried to recreate it, and they did pretty good too. But if it wasn't for Halloween, all those other franchises wouldn't be what they are today. The beauty of this movie is that it started off as an independent film. They had absolutely little they had like a really small budget to this movie, yet they created this artistic view of a modern horror. This movie took Hollywood by storm. It showed that they don't need a lot of money to make a scary movie. I mean, they just with the little budget that they had, John Carpenter and Deborah Hill, they showed that they can have a truly terrifying movie without the need of exaggerated blood and guts and all this other stuff. This movie introduced Jamie Lee Curtis, known as Laurie Strode, as the babysitter, and it brought legends like Donald Pleasance to play Dr. Loomis. Not to mention the fact that this movie, along with the other sequels, introduced a soundtrack that it's very recognizable among a lot of people today. I honestly think out of all the other slasher films, Halloween has the best and most original soundtrack. But yeah, this movie, it just shows that you can have a simple movie with a simple script and make it terrifying. John Carpenter introduced this artistic view of just a guy, I mean, just even by the camera angles, just even like in the beginning, by making it like a first person type of view for the movie. No other movie had done that at the time, and it truly brought something really terrifying for people. So yeah, Halloween, without a doubt, is my #1 favorite Halloween film. And that's basically it, guys. That is my ranking of the Halloween movies. If you have your own specific ranking of the films, I would love to hear it, so comment in the section down below. And if you enjoyed what I had to say about these movies, make sure to like and comment and subscribe, and I'll talk to you guys in the next one.